So you're 38 right now, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe that's the youngest of at least the play-by-play or of the broadcasting crew, other than the fighters.
Yeah. Annex, early 40s, and I think John Gooden's right there. Yeah.
So do you feel like, and I think it was funny that you mentioned it, I believe on your latest episode of your Fitz Nation podcast. People go check that out. With Calvin Cater, I was listening to that this morning, where you talk about how this.
Hey, were you listening or did you watch it on YouTube?
You know what? I listened and I thought the quality was great. I wanted to.
Did you like it?
I did like it.
Yeah, like the quality of the interview sounds the same, but I was just like, I need to put more effort into the audio, and then whatever. But I was just curious.
I think the audio sounds great, and I like the I like the intro because I was about to quickly quote it. I don't know paraphrase it. Where you talk about how I think America is very kind of goal driven. And I think, my question to you is, maybe it's not necessarily in the form of setting goals. But, you started end of 2017 or early 2021, so you've been there about 3 years or so. What is, managing those expectations and creating new expectations as you go? Are there any real goals, if you will, for lack of a better word? Or where do you hope to see the Brendan Fitzgerald career in 5 or 10 years?
Right. So that's a good talking point because, it's tough. We had to do company goals or as part of Endeavor, you have a year end, like a lot of companies, a year end evaluation, and then sometimes goal setting. I don't know if I have to do the goal setting this year. I haven't seen that email come across yet, but that's part of it. What are your personal goals for this year? Here's company priorities and whatever. And I didn't know how to answer that a couple of years ago. I was just like, if you're telling me to write down goals, tangible goals, a goal to be successful should be specific. You hear a lot of people say that. And it's just if you're I don't want to write this down, but if you're telling me to write down goals, then I would say, I want to call a pay-per-view. But that's in no means I'm coming for John Annen.
Right.
I think we have the best quarterback room that I've ever been in terms of knowing each other's roles and having respect for each other. I love anytime I get to hang out with them, which doesn't happen enough because we have the same job. But so when it comes to goals, it's it's not up to me. So how can I say I want to call a pay-per-view and that's a goal? That's not up to me. That's up to somebody else. So that's a bad goal. And that's not even something that I necessarily want because, John Gooden almost was in line to call it in Fight Island because we saw in the documentary, Anik had a false positive. Is he going to, and he was just that's not how I want to get it. And it's just I only want to just be respected by the people that I work with. I want to have the fans enjoy the shows that I do. And so in line with that, it's you can't really set a goal in terms of play-by-play. Unless your goal is going to be, I want to sit next to Joe Rogan and call a title fight in Madison Square Garden. It's well, that sounds nice. I bet that would be a lot of fun. But if you set that as a goal, a goal of mine was always to anchor SportsCenter. And then I realized anchoring SportsCenter is not something that is up to me. I can't be I'm going to anchor SportsCenter now because I deserve it. That's not what happens. So you have to, in this business, it's really weird. Setting specific goals is good for, instead of get in shape, say, I'm going to run a half marathon in July. That's right. The goal type of thing. But what happens after the half marathon? You're just going to go back to eating like crap. So, I have really into the process-based thing of what I can control and what allow me to continue to have success and be better in what way possible. So podcasting is kind of a good thing for me, but I've never set goals on subscriber counts or downloads or anything like that. To me, the most important thing with my podcast is just did I do 40 episodes this year? Did I not just blow it off and take a 3-month break because I didn't feel like doing it, or process based on that, on something that I can control. And then if I put the effort into what's important to me in that regard, then it'll just grow by accident. It'll just grow as a side effect. So yeah, in terms of my career, I would say if you say, what's your dream job is always a good question for anybody. And my dream job has like constantly been pushed. Like my dream job was working in Boston. Then I worked in Boston, and my brother's friend, he actually made me think a lot, because he was just like, now that you have your dream job, what's your dream job? And like immediately I was just like, well, this isn't it for me. You know, I'm not just going to do this for the next 40 years. Like I have so much that I can do outside of this. And so I've kind of kept that thought everywhere I've gone. And it's not like to be dissatisfied with something, but just to know, like, if you get somewhere and it's your, like, if you're an NFL quarterback, that's your dream job, but you got to like be better at it and do more with it. And you can't just be like, cool, I made it, so now I'm good. It's like, you got to like push the envelope even further. So with, you know, if you talk 5-10 years down in my career, I hope it's like, it's foolish for me to say, like, I hope I'm doing the same thing, but I could see doing that. I feel like I'm finally in a job where I could sit here for the next 20 years if they'll have me, and be perfectly happy with it, make a good living with my family. I love Las Vegas. I love the UFC. I love the sport. But I hope that's not all. I hope it's not that plug and play. You know, I hope there's other projects I can do. Maybe my podcast grows, you know, maybe it leads to other sorts of things that, you know, so like I have my dream job number one, but I love interviewing, which is why I started the podcast. So do I have a bigger interview show? You know, I love David Faraday's show on the Golf Channel, you know, where he traveled around and is like a glimpse into this person. It was like a half-hour show, but it's like, or an hour, depending on who, but it's like, it doesn't have to be just golf. You know, he talked to Charles Barkley about golf and about his life and stuff. And so like that type of thing is something that interests me, that I've been able to start doing with the UFC. And so like, who knows where that can grow while I'm doing the UFC play-by-play thing.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram at felix.levine. And if you have something to say, please leave a comment.